She always took the same seat. Third row from the front, right next to the window. Rain or shine, summer or winter, Elena Vargas sat in that same spot every morning at 6:45, her gaze fixed on the passing city outside. She was invisible to most people. Just another tired face on the early bus. But if someone had looked closer, they might have noticed the notebook in her hands, its corners worn, the cover cracked, held together by tape and time. It wasn't a diary. It wasn't a planner. It was full of music, pages and pages of handwritten notes, rhythms, harmonies, entire symphonies living in that small leather notebook. But no one knew. Because Elena hadn't played music in over 6 years. Elena's story began in a different place, years earlier, in a tiny apartment above a bakery, where the smell of sweet bread mixed with the sound of a violin. Her mother worked 2 jobs to buy her that violin when she was 11. It was second-hand, scratched, and too big for her arms. But Elena didn't care. She fell in love with it. She practiced every evening until the sun went down, not because anyone forced her, but because when she played, the world disappeared. She wasn't just a girl in a noisy apartment. She was an artist. A creator. And she was good. So good that by 18, she was performing in community halls, wedding ceremonies, and even subway stations. And one day, something extraordinary happened. A man stopped while she played near a metro entrance. He wore a long coat, carried a small black folder, and didn't speak until she finished.
You didn't go to the conservatory, did you?
No, she replied. I couldn't afford it.
He handed her a card.
Send me a video of you playing. We're offering scholarships. Full ride. You have something rare.
Elena didn't sleep that night. She played all her best pieces and sent in the video. Weeks later, she got the letter. She had been accepted to study classical music in Vienna. Fully funded. Her dream. The very thing she had prayed for her entire life. But life had other plans. The same week the letter arrived, her mother collapsed at the kitchen table. A stroke. One side of her face went slack. She could no longer speak. She couldn't walk without help. Elena made her choice quickly. She folded the letter, tucked it into the violin case, and stayed. For the next 6 years, she was her mother's caretaker. She bathed her, fed her, took her to therapy, and worked night shifts to pay bills. She didn't complain. She didn't regret it. But the violin? It sat in a dusty corner. Untouched. And the music? It lived in her notebook instead of the air. Vocabulary, caretaker. A caretaker is someone who takes care of another person who cannot take care of themselves. In Elena's case, she became a full-time caretaker for her mother, which meant sacrificing her own dreams. When her mother passed away quietly one winter morning, Elena was left with silence. Not the kind musicians love. But a deep, painful silence, the kind that settles in your bones. She couldn't bring herself to touch the violin again. She still rode the same bus. She still held the same notebook. But now she looked out the window, wondering if the music would ever come back. The world moved on. Elena worked as a cleaner in office buildings. The job was simple: empty trash cans, wipe down desks, vacuum floors. The kind of work that left her body tired but her mind empty. Some nights, she opened the notebook. She still wrote melodies. still imagined harmonies. But no one ever heard them. They remained trapped on paper, like birds in a cage. Then, one rainy Tuesday, the bus broke down. Passengers groaned. Some got off. Others waited impatiently. Elena, as always, stayed in her seat, watching raindrops trace paths on the foggy glass. A young man sat beside her. Late 20s, headphones around his neck, hands calloused like he played guitar or piano. "What's that?" he asked, pointing to her notebook. "Just some music," she said quietly. "You're a composer?" She smiled faintly. "Used to be something like that." "Can I see?" Something in his voice was kind. Curious, but not demanding. She hesitated, then handed him a page. He studied it, lips moving as if hearing the notes in his mind. After a moment, he looked up, eyebrows raised. "This is really good." "Like, really good?" "I'm a pianist. I teach at the conservatory down the road. You should come by. We can play this together." Elena laughed, unsure if he was serious. "I haven't played in years." "Then maybe it's time." Vocabulary: conservatory. A conservatory is a school that teaches music, dance, or drama. The young man taught piano at a local conservatory, a place Elena had once dreamed of attending. She almost didn't go. She almost told herself it was silly. That she was too old. Too rusty. That dreams were for younger people with fewer scars. But something inside her, small and flickering like a candle, wanted to believe. So she went. The piano room was modest. Just a baby grand in the center, some chairs along the wall. The young man introduced her to a few students, then sat at the piano and began to play her music, the room filled with a melody she hadn't heard outside her own imagination. And suddenly, it was real. Alive. Breathing. Elena stood frozen as others listened, heads nodding, eyes closed. Afterwards, a woman approached her. Late 40s, elegant, confident. "Did you write that?" she asked. "Yes," Elena replied softly. "I'm the director of the city orchestra. We're always looking for fresh voices. Would you be willing to meet?" Elena nodded. It was the beginning of something she thought had ended long ago. Vocabulary, melody and harmony. A melody is the main tune of a piece of music, the part you might hum or sing. Harmony is when other notes or instruments support the melody, making it richer and fuller. Over the next few months, Elena's world changed. She submitted more compositions. People listened. She was invited to write for chamber groups, small ensembles, even background scores for short films. One day, she stood backstage at a full concert hall. Her name was printed in the program, Original Composition by Elena Vargas. She didn't perform that night, but when the orchestra played her piece, she wept quietly in the wings. Not out of sadness, but out of gratitude. Because the music had waited for her. And she had finally come back. Vocabulary: gratitude. Gratitude means deep thankfulness. Elena felt gratitude, not just because people liked her music, but because she had a second chance to do what she loved. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. She still lived simply. She still took the bus. But now, people recognized her. Sometimes a student would whisper, "That's Elena Vargas." And she would smile. Not because of fame, but because her music, once locked in a notebook, was now out in the world, touching people's hearts. She never stopped taking the window seat. But now, when she looked out, she wasn't searching for something lost. She was simply watching the world go by, quietly, peacefully, beautifully, knowing her melody was part of it.